Hey guys, Omerko here, self-taught web developer. I had problems in past with this, and I honestly think that most beginner developers don't really get what is the difference in position property in CSS. So for today, we will take a deep look into it and explore all 5 positions that our HTML elements could have. I will also do my best and try to explain to you each of these. So let's start it. So my HTML has just 5 sections, 5 divs inside its body. One is for static position, the other one is sticky, then we have a relative, absolute and fixed section. You can also see that my absolute section is inside, it's nested in my relative section. You will learn why when we come to it. The idea here is to take each section, position it as it class says, and see a real difference and maybe learn from it. So I will first make my sections visible on my screen, so I will do that by styling those. So for that, let's go to CSS. So for CSS, I just have a padding and margin to all elements set to 0, just base, nothing else. And I will first grab my static section. So sections here, and let's grab here static section, and for it I will put the height of it to be 100 pixel. Then background color could I will color this differently so we could see the difference between the sections. So the background color for this would be 673AB7. Then for my sticky section, I'm not positioning those yet, I'm just styling those so we could see it on a screen. Height for that would be 80 pixel, and BG color will be 00968. Then relative section, height, for this I will set to 1000 pixel, so we could have some scrolling also on a page, as it is crucial for this tutorial. And BG color will be set to FFC107. FFC107, I need hash at the start. Yes, and I will also put padding to this of 100 pixel. So we would have spacing for our absolute section. As you remember, our absolute section is inside of this relative section. So now for that absolute section, I will put height of 200 pixel and width of 200 pixel, so we can have a kind of box. And BG color could be 607 D8B. And now fixed section, and our last section that we have will have a height of 100 pixel, then width of 100 pixel, also a smaller box, and BG color would be FF5722. So now that we styled our section, in my browser now we can see our sections. So this is how it looks for now. We didn't put any positions on those sections, we just styled those differently so we could see the difference. So here it is my static section, then we have a sticky section, then this big yellow section is obviously our relative section, then absolute section is inside of our relative section. There is 100 pixel from all sides, so that is why this section is not here at this corner. And also down, if I scroll, there is a fixed section, this kinda orange box. So let's first talk about the static section. So regarding static section here, this purple one, static position is position that is given to HTML elements by default. So we won't really need to use that position at all. Even if we use it like this, position static, it shouldn't make any changes to this section. So let's save it and see. So now I could reload, everything looks the same. Also static position does not support properties like top, right, bottom and left. So now we could take a look into this sticky section, this green one. Sticky position is based on our user scroll, on this scroll bar on the side. Plan for this type of position is to use it on elements that will keep their position while a user scrolls the page. To make our sticky section scrollable as we scroll it, we must add position sticky. Like this won't work. If I would refresh my page right now, this green section will stay at its position. We must also specify like a space, the position that we wish this section to take. So for that, I could pass, for example, top 0, and this sticky section will be always at the top. So now if I would refresh my page, sticky section is here, but once I scroll it and I come to it, it will keep its position to a top, and I could scroll it and it will follow us with our scroll. Also, the sticky position, when we use it on our section, it will by default take like a position relative, like we could see it right here. But while we scroll it, it will kinda change its position to a fixed position. So while we scroll, it will be fixed to a top side. And you will learn more about fixed position once we come to that section. Now for our relative section here, position relative is something we use on elements so they could work relatively to their positions. This position also supports top, right, bottom and left values, and by using those we could adjust our element from its relative position as we wish. So now in my code, so if I put position relative to my position to my relative section, and I also put top 100 pixel, this section should be moved from top by 100 pixel. So if I would refresh my page, so I could see that from its origin position it's moved 100 pixel now. One thing more that we could see is now that if I would scroll and my sticky position is ticked now, the sticky section is fixed to a top, once it comes to a relative section it will stop scrolling with our scroll, and that is why our relative position could trigger our sticky position. Basically we could set some section to be positioned relative, and we could stop our scrolling, our sticky section to scroll with our scroll on that exact position. So now let's talk about this absolute position, this gray box. Position absolute will make our element to be positioned relative to a nearest ancestor that uses relative position. If there is no such ancestor, then it will use entire viewport, so entire web page. This position is something that also supports top, right, bottom and left spacings. And for example, I could put now here position absolute, and I could use top to 0 and right to 0. And if I would see this on my browser right now, let's reload, I could see that that gray section is now at top right corner. So it is relative to our relative section. If I would remove this position relative from my relative section and also this top 100 pixel, then I could reload my screen, and at that point this section is not relative to our relative section, but it's relative to our web page, our viewport. Let's bring that code back. So now let's talk about position fixed. Position fixed will fix our section to a position without any kind of moving it. It is also not relative at all to other elements like absolute position is, but it can only be relative to our viewport. It obviously also supports top, right, bottom and left values, and I could use it right now. I will position my section fixed, and I will put top to 0 and left to 0, and our section should be fixed right now. So now if I would refresh my screen, I could see this orange section, this fixed section here at the top. So as you could see, it is not relative to anything, just to our viewport. Now if I would scroll my screen, I could see that this fixed section scrolls with it. Even this sticky section is stopped scrolling at this relative position, but fixed, it is continue its scroll. If I would move this section inside of my relative section, so to my HTML, cut this out of here and put it next to absolute section. Basically, absolute section, as it is inside of section, its parent that is position relative, it basically is relative to that parent. But fixed section, if I would refresh my screen, it will always stay at that position. The reason is because it cannot be relatively positioned to any ancestor, just to a web page. So let's bring this code back. So fixed should be out of the relative section. And I want to show you one more thing. To our positions, they also support something called z-index. Z-index specifies stack order of the elements, so which we wish first to show. For example, I could use z-index here on my fixed section and set it to be 1. And here on my relative section, I could use z-index of 2. So in my browser, if I would refresh my screen right now, and if I would scroll right now, at some point you could see that fixed position it's still fixed, but it is going behind the relative position, because the z-index on a relative position is higher than the z-index on fixed position here. So I honestly hope that you learned something new today, or you are more secure about how CSS position property works. If you like what you saw, please click like and subscribe, as I'm posting new content weekly, so feel free to check it out. Thank you and see you in the next video.